Aren't you lucky? Here I am, second live of the week or video, depending on where and when you watch this. I'm Karen Griffith. As promised, I intended to deliver a lighter topic as next week I'm off. I'll be doing some personal development of my own, an intensive workshop that I'm really excited about because I think it's going to be a game changer for me. Nonetheless, here I am. Last video, depending on what point you watched it, was on Dancing with Darkness. The discussion was around shadow work. Because I went deep into the topic, I felt strongly that I would offer a video as a counterbalance to anything that may come up for you if you watched it, if you're serious about developing your personal growth and accelerating your healing, because that is where it's at. It's an internal job. Right, so I mentioned on Facebook, if you saw the post, as it's Mother's Day for those of us in the States. In the UK, we had it on the 3rd of May. To honour that, I shared a post and the comment was, feminine power does not come from self-sacrifice. So this is your permission slip here. It comes from staying in alignment with your joys, your truth, your unique essence. And I feel that's an important statement to make as we unlearn and relearn what it is to become a woman. And as I said, it's giving yourself a permission slip. So it's because I've written my notes all over the place this time to kind of get it done, and as a counterbalance to what can be confronting if you take on board the invitation to delve into your shadows and bring that to light, because it is possible and it is very much available to you. And I'm going to offer some suggestions and also talk around the subject so you feel a bit more assured of why it makes sense, it's logical, rational, and also giving lightness to an otherwise challenging experience, which is the human experience. So let me try and find one, try and bounce to. So what I would like you to consider adopting here is a childlike mindset, the one that is the part of you that has a sense of wonder and awe, and bear that in mind and connect to that child that didn't concern itself with things being a certain way, and was turned on, tapped in to what made that child, your child, alive, having fun, time passing away without thinking about it. And it will hopefully come more apparent as I discuss the topic more at hand. So it's really stepping into the doing, as well as the counterbalance to some of the distractions, some of the ways that we can control things outside of us without lovingly redirecting our attention and intention, focus, our energy onto ourselves and addressing the things that are coming up for us. So it's letting go of control, it's surrendering and accepting what is, being present in our experience. And I'm going to assume here part of that is because with women we tend to be socialised and conditioned to put other people's needs ahead of our own. So again, this is a permission slip to shore up our boundaries, take care of our needs, and to, before giving to others, give to ourselves first. So that's the caveat over that part done with. So it's becoming aware of what makes you alive, what lights you up. Because remember, I mentioned the mindset that you might want to consider is the child in awe, in wonder, very curious. If you ever watched a child, you do have to watch them, especially when they're toddlers, because they can get themselves into all kinds of mischief. So if you think back to those times, you weren't full of fear, you weren't full of doubt. You just did this thing. Same like when you attempted to walk, you would have fell several times. Chances are you've injured yourself, you probably don't remember it, but it never stopped your desire to walk. That is what I'm thinking. I'd like you to get thinking about, so that you're really relating to the things outside of your roles, because there could be a number of things. It could be your mum, you run a business, you're a wife, could be all those things as well. Your identity, who you think you are, your attachments, your dependencies. And I'm not going to go into any explanation, any one of those, because again, I want to get into a lighter topic. There's other videos that I've shared where that is covered, and I believe I've covered it in enough depth. So it's also from a wellness perspective, understand we have, and this is the science bit, we have chemicals running through our body. I've spoken about the key ones: oxytocin, endorphins, serotonin, dopamine, and there are certain challenges with each one, particularly dopamine, because depending on how it's sourced. Because if your dopamine, if you're challenged through dopamine, and the thing is, technological advances is such where it's accelerated that need to be on our phones. That's something to be mindful of. So what I'm getting at here in terms of the other chemicals that we can have running through our bodies is paying attention to where we're being impulsive, where we're being reactive to the people, places, things, or the environments that we're in. And to really understand that now is the time. If you've watched the video on the shadows, Dance with Darkness, invite you to watch that, so that you start to check what emotions are going through you, and that you don't necessarily give in. Practice the pause, deep breathing here so that you can reset if there's a survival mode being triggered, either emotionally, mentally, or emotionally, mentally, or even survival mode spiritually, so that you're checking the emotional behaviours and habits attached to that. So it's the invitation to now start working and making our shadows our allies, because they need to be integrated. They need to be at first acknowledged, accepted, and then integrated, so that they start to become your allies, because there's still things that can be extracted from those traits, those aspects, those parts of us that for whatever reason have been denied, suppressed, justified because of the past experiences, and start to bring them in so that you start to identify the gifts, opportunities, or lessons that come with it. So what am I talking about here is basically channeling the energy of the shadows, so that we're mindful of the cravings that we have, the cravings for attention, validation, or praise from others. Because as I mentioned in the previous video, when you give people the power to feed you, you're also giving them the power to starve you. And this is where it's important, shoring up your boundaries, giving yourself what you need, and giving to yourself first before others is highly critical. So see it as an investment, a deep investment in self, to only invest in the people, places, things that give back to you, that are reciprocal in nature. Give yourself that permission to give yourself the safety and security that you deserve, because you are enough. You're worthy, all the good stuff. So covered that. So if your daily life is feeling empty, it's about filling those voids and choosing, and instead of choosing distractions, taking real concrete action towards what makes you feel energised, focused, and also a well-rested person, because you're prioritising your needs, you're prioritising what fills you up, you're keeping your cup full, and from that place you give from your overflow, if that's what you want to do. And you're not allowing your past experiences or what you've been told as barriers or obstacles to your true gifts. So this is where I'm going to explain the phrase ebbs and flows of life, which basically describes I can't pronounce that. It's basically CYCLICAL. Basically, it's the circular nature of life, which is characterised both in periods of growth and decline, success and hardship, and other contrasting stories. Why is this important, particularly to the ladies? It's a natural rhythm where things rise and fall just like the tides. I mention this because it's remembering water is a feminine principle. And from that place, I'm encouraging you to embrace and accept change and to be adaptable to both balance the positive and negative experiences in life. So when you flow with water, which is very symbolic, you're connected to life and emotions, your life, emotions, and the fluidity in which it runs, because water can navigate difficulties and distractions and flow around them. Because if you ever watched a stream, nothing gets in the way of water. It finds a way to break through. So ultimately, water changes the landscape. You've got that power internally. It's just a learning, because there's what I've pointed out, to unlearn with the shadows through integration, and to relearn what is feminine, what is natural. It's just been forgotten for the reasons I've shared on previous videos. And to reflect and be aware that it's available to you to become more resilient and adaptable, often associated with women, this gift, this power. It's just remembering who you are. And I found a quote I like to quote, everyone throwing some quotes, but this one by Oscar Wilde that said, life imitates art far more than art imitates life. So it makes sense from a femininity point of view to really make peace with your shadows, bring them into the light, and therefore to see your life as a moving piece of art for the beauty that you are. I'm owning that phrase, moving piece of art. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm open for that, but I believe I'm coming up with a phrase, moving piece of art, because for me, coaching is both, and how I've been taught when I trained over 3 years ago. It's both an art and a science, and that's why I tend to bring in evidence-based, scientifically proven suggestions, but also the creativity side, which is very feminine, and I'm going to talk about the other aspects as well that you might want to think about considering as a means of how you start to address and step into a way where you let your art, which is going on inside of you, reflect the realities of your life. This is not the external, this is internal. Something to think about, how do you let your art, whatever's inside of you, your gifts, your talents, the natural skills that you have, the things that you do without thinking, how can you bring that forth into the world in powerful ways? That's something to consider. So it's reflective of your joys, your sorrows, and the complexities of the human experience. So let that sit with you for a while. So again, why have I chosen art? I shared the principles of art on my previous video. You're going to have to go through, because I'm not going to give any more time to that specifically. But in terms of art, look at it as a powerful tool of expressing and and exploring emotions, offering a window to your psyche. So can you see the opportunities and possibilities there? I know a lot of women, how they express that, their artistry, some in paintings. There's somebody that I've met that's a beautiful artist. Another lady I know that is an excellent DJ. So she expresses herself through her music. She predominantly plays Afro and she's very good at it, and she's also creating music as well. Mine was through dance. I used to create routines when I was much younger. I've been promising that I'll come up with a routine. This is to myself. I haven't probably made that public until now, so I'm going to have to stand on business. But what I have done is shared videos of when I've been able to make dance classes, whacking, jazz dance. I haven't shared any videos when I'm performing ballet because it's not really the done thing for that. But these are things that I used to do when I was much younger, which is why I'm imploring you to go to the childlike mindset, because it enabled me to go back to revisit those moments in my childhood that were most enjoyable, that fulfilled me, did it without thinking about it, performing routines. So I went back to that, and that inspired other sort of creative endeavours, not all of which I've shared on here, and to explore other hobbies as well. So again, I'm sharing a live example of what could be possible if you work on a few of the suggestions. Just take what resonates, let the rest fly. Maybe I'll catch you on another video. So, psyche, in case you may or may not know what that actually means. The psyche is the mind and the soul or spirit. Why is this important? Because mastering self is mind over matter, as opposed to allow the body to be at the wheel of the car. This is very important to be aware of. The mind and spirit, the soul, just to tap into what is behind the wheel of your car. You need it to be the mind. You need to master yourself. You cannot control other people. You cannot create value and create your worth or invest it on things outside of you, because as I mentioned, when you give people the power to feed you, I've got that the wrong way round, I'm getting a bit tired. You give people the power to starve you. So this is where really getting to grips with your spirit, your mind and your psyche, and seeing it as a moving piece of art, because feminine is flowing, it's flexible, it's adaptable, it's all those things. It's circular, it flows, it has movement to it when we reflect on the principles of art, again as an invitation to see what's there for you. And there's many ways that you could be inspired through art, which I'll go on to later. But it's understand the psyche being the centre of thoughts, feelings and motivations, consciously and unconsciously directing the body's responses to it, socially, physically, and the environment. because I mentioned earlier, perhaps not in the best way, about the chemicals that can run through our bodies. It's important to manage stress levels, cortisol, because the impact of that over a sustained period of time manifests in disease. Because there's a clue there. You need ease, you need relaxation, practicing the pause, taking time out for yourself, all really important and interlinked. And to draw inspiration, now moving into the things that you can do. Take whatever resonates, let the rest fly. So you can see it in dance, the arts, going to art galleries. I went to a park, local park, went for a walk, did a meditation. There was a lot of distractions around me, and that is okay, because I've learned over the time how to focus on the meditation rather than to allow what's going on around me, or what my mind thinks. Like because I can remember I used to hear noise and be like, why are they doing that? And little did I know that was the ego. And the more I learned how to relax, more to be accepting that noise was going to happen around me, was outside of my control in most respects. That's when I started to learn how to master my mind more powerfully, rather than to give in to the impulse to react from a place of thinking it needed to be or look a certain way. Because when I first started meditation, I started off, actually I didn't even know at the time, through a difficult practice, and couldn't figure out why I was struggling within that, and had little to no success in it. But nonetheless, I persevered. Thankfully, my resilience and my determination as opposed to resilience kicked in, and it's paid off dividends, because I've been meditating now for nearly 10 years, and I've done so many courses, and this is one of the key things I recommend to my clients to undertake, particularly if they suffer with anxiety, like I have done in my past. So I went off-piste there. So drawing inspiration from life, going out in nature, watching animals, I would say animal documentations. Really observe, what do you learn? You might pick up on something about their nature and see if you can relate that to human behaviour, and also see how that you could turn that into something that you can perhaps embody as a moving piece of art. I know this is a bit abstract, but stay with me here, because I'm trying to get you to a place where you embrace the side of your brain that activates your intuition, activates your gifts, activates your curiosity. So, why is it important? It's starting to get dark, isn't it? So I better wrap this up. So, that anger you feel, that anger that you deny that's in you, can you channel it into self-discipline? That envy, so it's your anger that you feel, can you channel it to self-discipline? I've got the Daily Habits group, you're welcome to join. That envy you deny that's inside of you, can you be generous with your admiration, acknowledging others? cheering them on, celebrating them, because it doesn't take away from your achievements, your successes. Or you can express confidence unapologetically instead of feeling secure inside. How about that? The fear of not being seen, becoming instead self-independent, standing on your square like a queen. So I'm giving you ideas here of how you can channel the energy of whatever you're denying, suppressing, into ways that you could convert into power. Power, being self-aware is power. So your art is not performative, so it's not based on what others think, it's not based on how you look, it's not based on your appearances. I know we're in a society that seems to celebrate that aspect, but that isn't what it is. That isn't the thing, not really. It might be to some people, the overwhelming majority, but here is an opportunity when you see yourself as a moving piece of art, is actually to separate yourself. It's actually the opportunity, it really is, to be the unique essence that you are. Because there's only you, no one's had. You're as unique as your fingerprint, that's fact. You're as unique as your fingerprint. You just need to remember, engage those parts now that you're collecting them back in to make yourself whole and full. To operate in your fullness, sorry, not full like as in food. So you're getting an idea that it doesn't need to look a certain way, be a certain way. It's letting go, it's surrendering to what is and embracing who you are. Authenticity is the key. So I'm going to come up with a few ideas because I've given you also concepts. I didn't quite name it in those terms. So stop hiding yourself. It's as simple as that. You're going to break through with imagination and creativity. I did offer another video on creativity because I did highlight that being one of the key skills. Because from there you can create, birth a lot of things that could tap into your joys, your passions, make good on your purpose, if that's the direction that I believe you should be heading in anyway, but it's something to think about anyway. So some suggestions, I've got 3 because I do believe in the power of 3. Visualization is a powerful way to open up to your gifts and intuition. If you join my daily habits group and we reach 18, I've written that down, 18 people, I will drop a visualization tool you can use. I'm not going to share it until I reach 18. There, you've got to give something. You've got to receive, but also you've got to give. It's got to be reciprocal in nature. So join me in the group if that's what you want to experience. And also there's plenty of other tools. I'm on hand for support there. Inspired action. And the way to think about it is it simply means to do that you're inspired to do. Unleashing your true genius and to live with vitality and flow. Very feminine. The inspirational Leonardo da Vinci, I don't know if you've ever seen his works. I certainly got to see quite a few of them when I was in Italy. Absolutely incredible artist. I've also had opportunity to read up on him which I won't go into now, just in various books he's been mentioned. It's really starting to get light in here, dark in here, not light. Sorry, tiredness, so I'm tripping over my words a bit, but that's okay, I'm an imperfect human being. Hopefully something's landing for you by now. Basically, he believed that quiet contemplation was the doorway to his genius. So with that in mind, I invite you to join the Richness of Everyday Life group, mindful-based stuff goes on there, because I do believe in mindfulness. I've said I've been practicing for 10 years, so I share content regularly into that group as well. And there's stuff in there I'm not going to share, because this is more the doing. You're going to learn through doing, taking action. But that said, let's set about finding your inspired action. So I'm going to give you 3 questions to think about. So I suggest you grab a pen and paper, hit pause, then write down these 3 questions. What's the best action to take today? What do I need to know today? What would I love to do today? Really tap into the bodily feeling of whatever you write down. Stream of conscious writing, so you're aware, and see what comes out of it. Because you're going to be alert to the flashes of inspiration and insights as a result of doing that short exercise. And when it's clear to you what those are, only you will know, unless you have a conversation with me and I can spark it through the questions, because that's the art, through the questions I give you, tapping into what I'm seeing, observing, and what I lean into, what I believe I'm hearing you say, because I'm mirroring, reflecting back to you. That is the art, and as well as the science is the observation of how you're responding to my questions, what lights you up. I'm reading your energy, and again, this is something you can do independently without me if you want to go it alone. The 3rd one is start recording your dreams. Why is that important? We get messages through our dreams, but often we don't necessarily remember what we've dreamed about. I invite you, when you do, you're aware, not when you're in the dream itself, of course, but when you wake up and you realise, oh, I've had a dream, this is what's going on. Have a habit of keeping a pen and paper by your bedside table, or wherever it is you've got space in your room. Just quickly write or even draw and see what materialises from that. Because if you're keeping records and you're consistent with it, because that's the only way, the more you do it, the more you will remember. The more you record is the more you can reflect and see what is coming up as a message, those inspirations, those flashes of insights. So the point is to consciously look for the signs, the positive signs that encourages you to add more fun to your life, more excitement, confidence and flexibility to it. I'll say that again. The point is, in this video, to consciously look for positive signs that encourage you to add more fun, excitement, confidence and flexibility to your life despite of your shadows, because we're going to start making those shadows allies instead of enemies. So it's something to think about. I've given you a lot here, and I'm going to end on this note. What makes you feel most alive? I'll say it again, what makes you feel most alive? I'd love to hear from you in the comments. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, send me a DM. Some people do. Or they just tell me when they see me. But as I'm not out as much, I'm not available per se, because that's a boundary that I've given myself, as I need to focus on other areas that I've got going on. You know, I will respond to you if and when I can, if you have my details to do so. So thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Do like, comment and share the video. As you can see, it's getting quite dark. I should have turned the light on before starting the live. Time kind of ran away from me, and as you can see, it's getting really dark here. So before I disappear off the screen, catch you in 10 to 14 days time.